So how did the leopard get its
Right. So he says.
So this is the next section.
Yes. Social biologists. It's no wonder Mitch Stokes once put forth the possibility that the social biologists have their facts wrong. It's a legitimate possibility, however. The worry being that the words of atheist philosopher Philip Kitcher says evolutionary explanations run the risk of becoming exercises in storytelling, just without Kipling's wit. So he says that it's the possibility that we're not reconstructing actual history of ethical projects, but that we're forming what we believe it is beyond the available evidence. We cannot advertise explanations of how actually these processes occurred, but this is a possibility, and we should agree on it.
Yeah, obviously we can't go back and observe, right?
Yeah, right. So our snake in the grass thing, I have a fright because of the thing moving. Well, what if it wasn't snake in the grass? What if it's, there was always, another tribe person that was with us who was becoming a snake god. And so we evolved this jump process because we were actually communing with this snake god that our fellow tribesman was imitating. So that's where it comes from. Well, then you have two competing ideas where you just are kind of assuming where that came from. There's no testing of that. Unless you hop in your time machine or you go back. This has always been what creationists have always had a issue with when it comes to evolution is the whole you weren't there. We're not doing observable science. We're doing historical science. We're applying what we believe to happen. We don't really know. We kind of tweak our theory, and so that's why you still have the Big Bang being a theory. And so here's why we get the redshift, and here's why we get galaxies spinning in different directions. But we're not doing what Hume would want us to do.
And as a result, it's really difficult to overcome our assumptions about what we think, this is the way it is, and now let's talk about it. So it's really, I think Kitcher, has his finger on the nail here. It's somewhat storytelling, right?
How do we
tells
prove it
the best story?
Exactly, yeah. Well, the guy in the lab coat seems to really press his lab coat, so we should listen to him rather than the guy with the collar around his neck.
That's right, or the bow tie.
Or the bow tie, yes. So he goes on to say, I myself am very skeptical about the evolutionary explanation, as we talked about in previous chapters. It does. There's no doubt that our moral code provides survival advantage over many of the alternatives because, of course, it does. But biological benefit does not in itself imply that our ethics develop naturalistically. It may be, for example, that a divine lawgiver hardwired us with knowledge of these moral laws, and one of the benefits of following them is things will generally go better for us as well as for others.
So there's we can have a couple of explanations with regard to programming. If that's what it is, right?
Right.
They say evolution programmed us, but he's suggesting, well, what about a divine lawgiver? A divine lawgiver could have programmed us, right, to accept these things, and believe them.
And so where we've talked about compatibilism as it relates to free will, Sam Harris is a determinist as far as free will goes, and he follows that from his line of thinking as far as his idea of what evolutionary process happens and as what the social biology does.
So his behaviors are unavoidable. He can't help do what he does if he's a determinist.
Right. And so I guess everything that he does, like start a podcast and try and help people learn, that's just what is programmed into him by his biology. And he doesn't really get any...
The laws of nature working, right? And so no matter what you do, you can always say, Your Honor, the laws of nature made me do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what is punishment? Why are we punishing if we're trying to curb behavior, right? That's what we do when we punish is we have both a generic and a specific type of deterrent. The specific deterrent is stop that person from doing that thing again. So we put them in prison, or we put a fine on them, or we kill them. And then
and we're also trying to keep other people.
The general deterrent. Yeah. We put it out there and we say, people shouldn't do this because this will happen to you. Yeah. And so, if we're all just determined to do what we want, what is that sense of justice?
Yeah, right. And the sense of justice might mean even something like, I want revenge, because of what they did to me. That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So naturalism implies nihilism, and since that's what I think the evolutionary story of ethics implies, so we're still stuck with no objective morality, but this sense of kind of blasé when it comes to morality, that there's no oughts or shoulds, and he'll cover that a little bit in the next chapter as well.